It's really wonderful to be with you all at Blessed Sacrament here this evening. And I love the whole theme of listening that Father Peter, Father Robinson, and Father Benedict have been tracing. And I want to tell you that as your bishop, as a successor of the apostles on Long Island, as your servant, let me express my gratitude at your incredible spirit of parish evangelization. Each one of you is reaching out family to family, person to person, being courageous Catholic witnesses on Long Island. And being here with you this evening, I just want to personally thank each and every one of you. And in a very special way, I want to thank our young people who are such courageous Catholics. Thank you all so much. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 20, there's a contrast. They're very simple but deep and powerful images. And the contrast is called to bring us to some resolution and direction. The first image is the image of a barren bush in the desert in lava waste. That image shows that nothing can grow. It's going to die, nothing is happening. When you and I allow the rhythm of the 7 capital sins to dominate our lives, the rhythm of pride, ego, the rhythm of anger, the rhythm of lust, the rhythm of self-centeredness, the rhythm of greed or materialism, the rhythm of laziness or sloth in regard to our faith, the rhythm of a lack of temperance, gluttony in regard to food and drink, but also in regard to our iPhones. When we allow those rhythms to dominate, then our lives are symbolized by the barren bush in the desert in a lava waste. Now, if you and I in our lives allow the rhythm of humility, complete trust in God and God's divine mercy, when we allow the spirit of mildness and gentleness, especially when we're under stress, to be the rhythm of our lives, when we allow the rhythm of chastity and a chaste spirit that is a liberated spirit, when we allow a spirit of giving thanks for our material blessings, but actively serving the poor and being involved in the poor, in the life of the poor people around us, when we allow our interior lives and our missionary lives be ignited by the Spirit rather than to taper off through laziness or sloth, then our lives are that beautiful image from the book of Jeremiah and from the Psalms of a tree with beautiful, strong roots reaching out to the stream of God's love. So we rise in grace. It's a very powerful contrast of images. The barren bush and the lava waste in the desert, and that beautiful, thriving tree with the powerful roots reaching out to the stream to be constantly nourished. When you and I put Jesus Christ, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and the mission of mercy of the Catholic Church at the center of our GPS, our lives are symbolized by that beautiful tree. When we allow the world, the flesh, and the devil to gain dominance or to get the upper hand, our lives gradually become like that barren bush in the lava waste in the desert. It's a beautiful kind of wake-up call. It's a beautiful sense of what really counts in life and how are we going to invest our life. And so with that beautiful image of the tree thriving, the roots exploding with the nourishment of the stream, we take that beautiful theme of listening in our lives. There are so many, listening is even more difficult today. We all know it, don't we? Ever have that experience in our families where we're have that moment at the dining room table and suddenly you see people going like that. I know we're all laughing because we all do it, right? It's like, just for a second, in terms of Father Peter's great theme of listening, let's all put a 24-hour video camera on the key places in our homes, the dining room, the living room, and wherever we kind of mix it up with our family. How many conversations are going face to face and seeing the face of Christ in our spouse, our children, our extended family who are guests at our homes? How many of those opportunities are stunted or short-circuited because we had to take that text? Let's start there. It's a little painful to put the mirror in front of us, isn't it? I know it's painful for me. So let's open ourselves there. It's amazing if we can just say, no, my time with my spouse right now is much more important than this text. My time where I listen, as Pope Francis says in Rejoice and Be Glad, that parent who listens to the dreams of his or her child at the end of a long, stressful day. So this whole mystery of listening, we can be strangers in our own homes at times. Let's open ourselves. I know in my own life, some of the greatest listeners in my life, my mother, Marjorie Barris, 6 children, a K through 3rd grade teacher. No matter when you went to her, somehow she was there, totally listening with every ounce of her being in the most serene and beautiful way. Even though she died in 2014, I still carry that memory so powerfully. My father in the priesthood, Father James Halligan, when I would go to him as spiritual direction as a freshman in college, he would listen with this mystic kind of natural charity, which encouraged me to open up my entire life to him and to discover that I was being called to the priesthood. Let's each one of us, individually and together, ask the Holy Spirit to break through whatever blockages of our Catholic, Christocentric listening spirit. Let's start over again. Let's rearrange our GPS that we can really listen. So often we can tune each other out. And one of the greatest gifts we give to our spouses is that listening, compassionate spirit. It's one of the greatest gifts. In the book of Samuel, there's a great story. This is a beautiful story for our young people. It never fails to move me. Samuel, it's in the middle of the night, and Samuel is hearing God's call, but the young Samuel is hearing God's call, but he doesn't quite know it's God's call, so he goes to his mentor, Eli. It takes them a little while to figure it out, but Eli, as a great coach, says to him, the next time the Lord calls you, say these words, "Speak, Lord, your servant is listening." Speak, Lord, your servant is listening. That's such a powerful phrase. And when you and I go to pray, and sometimes we get discouraged and we give up that we ever could possibly really pray. We can pray. Let's start our prayers with that beautiful phrase, "Speak, Lord, your servant is listening." The problem with you and me is that so often we approach our prayers with the phrase, "Listen, Lord, your servant's speaking." You ever have that experience? Believe me, your bishop has had it. Let's turn, "Listen, Lord, your servant is speaking," to "Speak, Lord, your servant is listening," and let the Holy Spirit breathe through every dimension of our soul, our minds, our hearts, and our imaginations. When we have that spirit with the Lord gives us that strength to have that beautiful, holy, listening spirit in a refined way with our spouses. And when spouses are united around the face of Jesus Christ, around the paschal mystery of dying to ourselves and rising in God's grace so that we can really listen, when a husband and wife are united, the parenting is so much more powerful, virtue-driven, holiness-driven, and courage-driven. Let's each one of us here tonight make an examination of conscience of how we listen. Let's listen at a deeper level to God, and then the Holy Spirit will make incredible changes in terms of how we listen to each other in our homes. So often in our homes we are in ruts in our relationships, ruts that have been clogged by pride, ruts that have been clogged by, I just can't forgive what happened a couple of years ago. Or do you remember that family reunion 5 or 10 years ago and you said this? I just can't get over that. You ever in our homes, sometimes what happens, we have little home maintenance crises where the gutters get clogged, whether it's by ice or the fall leaves. Let's clean out the gutters today of our relationships at home. Let's allow the Holy Spirit to clear those gutters so that we can go heart to heart with understanding. There's a business writer that I like. His name is Brian Tracy. And I was at Penn Station one night at the bookstore waiting for the LIRR, and I went in and I saw his most recent book. And it's a book of advice to business leaders. What I could not believe is this advice. He said, make a list of every person who has ever hurt you, every person who has ever criticized you, every person who has traumatized you, and give them all amnesty and forgive them each completely. There's something so refreshing about that in one moment we say to the Holy Spirit, it's tough to forgive, but I want to forgive every single person who's hurt me in the course of my life. I'm going to forgive every hurt that my spouse that I've experienced with my spouse. We all know it's easier said than done, but it's the right goal, isn't it? And the Holy Spirit can lead us to that. Let's allow the Holy Spirit to heal us with that beautiful balm of mercy so that we can get a new start in our families. To our younger children here today, too, what a beautiful thing when you go to the Sacrament of Penance. That beautiful sacrament of confession with these incredibly understanding and compassionate priests. You are opening the doors of your heart to God's forgiveness. And then you can be an instrument of forgiveness and peacemaking in your homes, in your neighborhoods, in your schools, and also online, right? There's a lot of bullying going on online. And our young Catholic people need to be strong and courageous in bringing the light of Christ into the social media world. Once again, I cannot thank all of you enough for the beautiful and courageous way you live your Catholic faith. In the bulletin today, you will see my letter to all of you and to every member of our diocese talking about the Abortion Expansion Act, that tragic, horrific act that permits infanticide, permits abortion to the very moment of birth, that opens the door to violating the conscience rights of Catholic doctors and nurses, forcing them to do abortions. Are we listening? Are we hearing this? If we're really hearing this, then the sleeping giant of the Catholic laity on Long Island needs to wake up and speak to our legislators in Albany and tell them how much we object to this. and how much we believe that the lighting of One World Trade Center or the lighting of the Al Smith dinner in celebration of this horrific act is a warped and chilling celebration of the culture of death in the state of New York that is corrosive to our families, corrosive to our culture, corrosive to our state. Let's really listen to where the Holy Spirit is trying to wake each one of us up, to be contemplatives in the public square, witnessing to the truths of our faith that set all of humanity free. God bless you all. It's so wonderful to be with you tonight. God bless.